Hello and welcome. Today we will be taking you through a presentation of the pestle and SWOT analysis of Brazil. Brazil is located in eastern South America, bordering the Atlantic Ocean. The president of Brazil is Dilma Rousseff. She has been the president since January 1st, 2011, and was re-elected in 2014. The political system in Brazil has three different branches: executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch, much like the system in the United States. They also elect a president who serves a 4-year term, also like the United States. There are some differences, such as the Brazilian Senate has 81 members who serve 4-year terms, and a Chamber of Deputies with 513 members who serve 8-year terms. They also have a Supreme Federal Tribune elected by a tribe who serve life terms.
According to the U.S. consulting firm McKinsey, and depicted in this graph published by the Brazilian XMA magazine, the consumer market in Brazil will increase significantly with expenditures of $1.3 trillion by the end of the decade. By 2020, Brazil is projected to be the fifth largest consumer market in the globe, exceeding other foreign countries such as France, Italy, and England.
Cross-border investment is an excellent tool to use to monitor a global interest and involvement a country has. Foreign direct investment measures just that. The FDI stock measures listed in this graph show the value of the prospective country's residents' investors' involvement in outward cross-border investment. Brazil holds a value of only 13% of GDP, which falls well below the United States at 32% of GDP. This tells us that Brazilian investors have very little stake and purchasing power for investments outside of their native country of Brazil. A population age breakdown can help provide insights about political and social stability, as well as economic development. Education is an important factor when looking at how countries are and can develop. Information presented here shows an increase in the expected years of schooling, along with an increase in the mean or average years of schooling. Brazil has a long way to go, as the most developed countries in the world, like that of the United States, hold an expected years of schooling at close to 17 years, and an average or mean years of schooling at just above 13 years. The Human Development Index takes life expectancy, basic knowledge, and standards of living and produces a score that describes the ability a country has to develop its own population. The graph here is a comparison to that of the HDI values of the United States. Brazil comes in just shy of 0.76, while the United States of America exceeds 0.91. It is important to know that Brazil has had a constant increase in their HDI values within the last 10 years. Language is a major factor in Brazil's social structure. Language usage is many times a good indicator of diversity within the country in terms of racial ethnicities as well as nationalities. With close to 2.5 million people speaking languages other than Portuguese, which happens to be the official language of Brazil, Brazil continues to be one of the most culturally diverse nations in the Western Hemisphere.
Spirituality heavily influences the Brazilian culture as religion has been and remains a staple for this country. Roman Catholicism reigns as the most practiced religion in Brazil, but many other churches exist within this country, such as Protestant, Methodist, Pentecostal, and Baptist. Brazil is nothing short of a melting pot as it is extremely diverse when it comes to religion. Brazilian culture is one of that is very diverse and unique yet complex. To analyze the country's cultural impacts, we can review Hofstede's cultural dimensions theory and Toupenaar's measures. In comparison to the United States, Brazil is heavily influenced by power distance. This displays the fact that inequalities exist amongst the Brazilian society. Hierarchy should always be respected. Differences in individualism between the two countries show a great variation as well. Americans tend to be more autonomous, while Brazilians like to function in groups. Relationships are more important than individualism in the country of Brazil. How exactly does technology impact the country of Brazil? Well, Brazil may not be known for its technology sector, but innovation is definitely on the rise for this South American country. Brazil is the home to various startups, e-commerce, web sectors, and information technology based companies. Social network, smartphone, and mobile application usage have also blossomed in the more recent times as well. Additionally, high technology manufacturing for goods such as pharmaceuticals and computers have had a positive impact on Brazil. This continues to be a source of economic growth for this country. Housing the largest river by volume, 40,000 plant species, and a highly diverse amount of animals, the Amazon is the largest rainforest to exist on the planet of Earth. Majority of this rainforest can be located on the country of Brazil, almost 2/3 to be exact. With that being said, agriculture remains one of the nation's most important sources of income due to the fact that it heavily contributes to the country's gross domestic product. Therefore, when deforestation started to take place, the country was greatly affected, as well as the rest of the world. Deforestation is caused by a vast amount of factors, with cattle ranching being the main one. The Amazon rainforest heavily influences world climate. If deforestation continues, not only will Brazil's gross domestic product be impacted, global warming will continue to be a problem for the world as well.
An important tool used to measure environmental stability and structure is the Environmental Performance Index. This index ranks countries' performance on high-priority environmental issues in mainly two areas. The first area, protection of human health and welfare. The second area being protection of ecosystems or the external environment. This graph shows Brazil's EPI values of the most important categories. Also included in this is the EPI values for those same categories of the United States. One may be interested to see that the United States holds higher values in intricate internal human health and welfare areas, while Brazil far exceeds in the external environmental categories. It is no secret that Brazil has struggled with freedoms in the past, included within individual, political, and economic structures. In this graph, you will see a freedom from corruption value issued by the Heritage Foundation. Brazil holds a 43% score, or a repressed standard in terms of corruption freedom. Since 2010, Brazil has seen lackluster increases in their corruption freedom score, most widely believed to be due to the ineffective strategies and policies implemented by the current executive office. It is important to realize that though since as early as 1995, Brazil has experienced a somewhat cyclical corruption freedom score, bouncing back and forth between repressed, mostly unfree, and even as high as moderately free standards seen in the late 90s. This differs dramatically from the scores of the United States. The United States has held constant at corruption freedom scores between 75 and 80%, or a free standard. The legal system of the Republic of Brazil is rooted in a foundation of civil law. Formed by municipalities, the federal district, and the union of its states, this system traces back to the colonization period of Brazil by the Portuguese. Brazil's system of law has proven to be quite inefficient in recent times, both in terms of a general rule of law as well as in terms of basic civil liberties. This has been seen especially at the judicial level, which has been known to be subject to negative political and economic influence, such as government bribery, as well as large individual monetary kickbacks to economic leaders. A basic SWOT analysis will show more concisely the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of any business venture wishing to enter the Brazilian market. Strengths to note would be extreme levels of mining commodities and wealth, as well as generally popular healthcare and education policies in place. Weaknesses to note, the obvious corruption practices at both the political and economic levels, as well as high crime rates, where more than 5 cities of Brazil are consistently ranked within the top 20 most dangerous cities of the world. Opportunities to note would be more opportunity to invest in this untapped country, as well as the 2016 Olympics held in Rio de Janeiro, a large-scale cultural sporting event. Threats to note, the rising concern of the Zika virus and a wide-scale health issue, as well as extremely high levels of inflation and interest rates. Brazil is an ever-changing, ever-evolving country both culturally and economically. As many challenges await a prospective business venture, it is the diversity of Brazil's people, culture, and geography that make this South American country a truly untapped market potential.